Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Yeah, I finally got a haircut. Um, we've had a lot of information. And first off, this is going to be Patreon only for now. I'm not sure if I'll put this up over on YouTube yet or not. See how I feel about it later. See how much I get into here, and then I'll make a judgment. Just in case I do, for all you on YouTube, we talk a lot about this stuff over on Patreon, and if you're interested in it, I suggest you go over there. We have a lot. We get into the weeds deeper on things than on YouTube, and we have a lot of smart people over there who contribute a lot in their comments. You do well to come on over and join us. I'd love to have you over there. So consider that. I'll put the link down in the description. Uh, we've had a lot of information coming to us over the last over the last quite a while about the shenanigans going on in the election here, and it seemed like every day we learn more. A lot of people had a pretty good idea about what was going on at the beginning, and others, needed to be shown some more proof of it. Or I won't say proof because people get proof and evidence mixed up. Um, Evidence is the road to proof, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. But people needed more evidence, and excuse me, not COVID, just early in the morning. Excuse me. Uh, and I fully understand that because that's the road I'm always on. Even when I think that something sounds believable, well, that's all right. Show me the evidence, and we will see what proof uh, that leads to, what truth that leads to. So we've had a lot coming our way on this, and in the last few days, I've put up some information on this Kraken business. The the possibility that a raid was made in Frankfurt, Germany. Won't get into the details of that. Go back and watch the other ones if you haven't already watched those, or if you're not familiar with the information yourself. We've had good information come in from you all, from the viewers, and some links that I appreciate. They were interesting links, and I encourage everyone to hit those links. I don't restrict links on here, um, at least not yet, because we don't have that many, and I'm able to watch them, and I want to watch them. And we have good, thoughtful people on here so far. We have had a couple of comments that were, I say, scoffing. Okay, they weren't really rude, but they were, and within the acceptable parameters of I don't believe this and such, and that's certainly, evidence leads different people different ways depending upon their level of knowledge, and also we also have to be aware that there is a danger of a predetermined or predisposition to want to believe one way or another. So I want to talk a little bit about that. It's going to be about a little bit about intelligence, um, and some things that I think should be considered. Um, I'm not going to get into to my background on this, except I think that I'll illustrate a little bit of it in a story that I want to tell. Back when 9/11 happened, I had a good friend of mine who had left the Army. Um, he'd done, I think, about 15 years in Special Forces, Army Special Forces. He was the real great guy, extremely competent. As you can imagine, being SF, he had to be competent. I would think. I don't know. I wasn't. I wasn't there. Uh, but at least from the outside perspective, we have a tendency to think that everybody in that unit is extremely competent. Any of you who were in those units, feel free to comment, because I know I was in some so-called special units, and I'll have to say that not everybody in them was extremely competent, but that's just me. Um, anyway, when 9/11 happened, I had a bunch of my students enlist. I was teaching martial arts at the time, and I attracted a certain kind of young person that was particularly uh, qualified for that. And a lot of them went in the special operations units of the various services. Many of them came back super screwed up, and I was sorry to see that, but it wasn't something that surprised me. So when my friend, and he had left after 15 years because he got crosswise of a colonel, and just had it, and left. But when 9/11 happened, he felt that he wanted to get back in. This was the reason that it was the call for him to go back in, and it took him a little work to get back in, but he was able to, and he did. And I'll stop it right there for fear of identifying him any further to anybody who may be, um, you know. Anyway, we'll just stop right there. Anyway, I was not for. I was very leery of 9/11. Uh, None of it made any sense to me. I looked at it from not from a super patriot viewpoint, but from an investigator's viewpoint. None of it made sense from the beginning, and so I looked at it with an extremely cautious eye and doubting eye. And I did not encourage my students to go into the military over that. They did anyway. Like I say, it did not work out well for many of them. Um, but anyway, my buddy, I remember sitting down with him one night at his house. And I could only draw on my own experience, which was non military. It was from the police and intelligence side. And I told him, I said, and he was a true believer. He wanted to go out there and do it. His country had been attacked, and he wanted to go in there and take care of business. And, kudos for that. We need people that want to do that. But I remember telling him that when I was in operations, I thought we knew the reason or the reasons for the things we were doing. And so we were all true believers. We were out there, giving it our best and doing those things that thought we were supposed to do. When I went to the next level, which I'll only characterize as, and this wasn't the name of it, but I'll characterize as short-term intelligence. And people will laugh at that. I said, yeah, your intelligence doesn't last long. Well, and in many cases, that's true. It's perishable. And is limited by the person who thinks they have it. But I'll just characterize it as short-term intelligence, not meaning especially the intelligence concerning a particular operation, but a shorter term. We're talking a matter of weeks, months, could be an overall collection of operations, we'll say. And then I saw that operations didn't have a clue as to some of the reasons that they were being told to do things. But now that I was on this special level, I thought, I know. Now I'm in the know, right? I'm in the know. Well, then I had occasion to go to the next level, which I'll just term as longer term intelligence. And I realized two things. That, first off, operations rarely understood the real strategic reasons for the things they were being tasked to do. And I also realized that the short-term intelligence people didn't have a clue as to the long-term direction that they were being directed in. And then I realized something that changed my world and led me out of it. That I realized I would never know whether I knew the reasons that things were being done, nor would I ever know how many levels there were above me. And that is a reality that people need to come to terms with. Now, I shared that with my friend. And so as a result, and that was just another piece of the puzzle that caused me to leave what I was doing. And I explained that to my buddy, and he listened, he understood, but this he was itching to get back in the fight, and he did, and he did a lot of things for a long time, and came back, and he's doing all right. I'm glad to see. But I think that this is, I saw a couple of things that should be kept in mind with people. First off, that the importance of never limiting your scope of what you will consider as possible. Okay. And I kind of addressed this to the people who, and everyone else, about the people who will hear this strange stuff coming out now, whether it's Kraken, whether it's this, whether it's that, I don't know. But to, whenever I heard someone scoff and say, that can never happen, that will never happen, that's not true, just no way, you're an idiot to believe that, whatever. It was either one or two reasons. If they were ignorant themselves of it, and this happens a lot when you get into the higher echelons of these organizations, you run into some stupid people. How they get there, well, we, like I think in a previous one, we know what floats, right? If they just didn't know, if they're saying something couldn't happen, then they were extremely inexperienced and stupid, which made me not trust them. Okay. If, on the other hand, it came from a person who I knew to be experienced and should have known and did know, then I knew they were trying to cover something up, and they were trying to they were disparaging certain information in order to take you on a different track and away from the track you were looking at. And there had to be a reason for that. Okay, could be disinformation, could be redirection, could be any number of reasons, and you would never know the motivation. Well, I guess you could, if you wanted to stay there in that cesspool and long enough, you could probably figure it out. But who wants to stay there for that? You would never know the real motivation behind it. My point here is, in intelligence, there is a lot of information coming your way. Only the fool will completely disregard anything that comes down the path. It's like science, who says, I had quite a discussion with an old student of mine who was a cosmologist and theoretical physicist, and he wanted to explain everything in the natural world, and he did not believe in God, and so he was talking about creation and all this, and I told him, I said, science is great. Science is also political. But science describes the limitations of our current knowledge, and when the scientists come from the starting point of there is no God, and it couldn't have been created by God, they are dismissing, refusing to look at an entire realm of possibility. Now, I say I'm a believer, and so I'll say I believe, in creation. Some whatever. We're not going to get into that, but God created something. Um, you decide what you think He created. Um, but when you refuse to address that, you're violating the basic premise of investigation, and that is dismiss nothing that you cannot disprove. Okay. And we're in that area now with all this Kraken business, and I'm not a QAnon person. I don't know. It always had the earmarks of kind of a disinformation program to me. I could be wrong. I don't know. And neither does anybody else who's not fully involved in it. Okay. So those are the things that I wanted to say with this. Um, take in this information. It will be impossible to know exactly what is happening. And if these things go down, if like this raid and that they're saying happened in Germany, if it did go down, you will not know. You will never know. If there were Americans killed in it, it's going to be put down as a training accident. A helicopter went down somewhere. You're not going to know. And so anybody who holds out for proof, you're not going to get proof. You will get evidence. And there are different categories of evidence. Okay. There is physical evidence, there is circumstantial evidence, there is testimony. So people who immediately say, show me the proof, they're misunderstanding the entire development of evidence and coming to truth and proof. So I would suggest this is just a word of advice and caution. Of course, we don't swallow anything whole that just comes our way. We should take everything in for consideration, and then see where that leads. And I'll tell you, some things it takes a load of evidence, because you're going to be finding some things come in that dispute what you think you know, and that seems just as believable as the first. You can't believe what my desk looked like when I was putting together a major case. I mean, good grief, that was before computers. My little brain had to keep track of that on legal pads. So anyway, that's a whole different story. I could get into different types of intelligence and how they work with and against each other many times. But that's just my word of advice and caution. Be cautious about believing anything that comes down the road. I don't think anybody here is dumb enough to do that. But also be cautious about just immediately dismissing anything, and be cautious about those who tell you that you should or that you're stupid for believing it, because there's usually either a limitation or an agenda on the part of those people. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. And like I said, I don't know if I'll put this over on YouTube or not. I didn't get into anything that I particularly want to keep off of there, so we'll see. But you all have a great day, and it will be interesting to see what comes out. I encourage you, put your comments down here and there, because you all some smart people, and share your information and your thoughts. Be respectful, be kind, as almost all of you are. Understand that your perspective may be different than someone else's, and if we share those with each other and we put those considerations out there for consideration by the people, as opposed to just saying, well, that's stupid, that's, if you believe this, you're never going to, don't do that. It kind of, it doesn't add to the discussion, it doesn't help anybody, and it kind of shows it shows where you're coming from, and everybody can see it. So you all have a great day, and remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And preparation, so much of it is information. Okay. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.